Today I'm going to be reviewing the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, and let me just say this hits close to home because when I was a kid, I was so hyped for this movie. I literally did a drum roll in the living room when I was putting the DVD in. In fact, my drum roll ended up scratching the DVD and we had to go back to Walmart to get a new one because as a kid, I was a stupid idiot. I don't know if you know this, but I still am to this day. But nevertheless, let's get on with the review. The movie starts out with the narrator explaining where Yu-Gi-Oh, Duel Monsters comes from. Flash forward and Yugi is putting together the Millennium Puzzle at the same time as some archaeologists discovering Anubis's tomb.
Coincidence? I think not!
Cut to modern day and Kaiba is creating a simulation on what it would be like for him to duel the Pharaoh again. You got to admit, Kaiba definitely has a thing for the Pharaoh. You cannot deny the tension between the two.
What the hell?
Careful. The ink's still wet.
Kaiba decides to fly out in his dragon-shaped jet to see if Pegasus has any cards that could help him defeat Yugi. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think Kaiba is just like Elon Musk if Elon Musk was really into dragons instead of Twitter. Pegasus agrees to giving Kaiba the cards that would defeat Yugi under the condition that he can beat him in a duel, because that's never not the solution in this world. If you're behind on rent, just duel your landlord. If your wife cheats on you with your best friend, just duel him. All problems can be solved with some trading cards. At the same time, Yugi is confronted by a bunch of people trying to duel him because they want those god cards. In order for Yugi to escape the crowd, Joey and the other one, fight them off. One of them summoning a monster that I can only describe as making love but at maximum effort. Back to Kaiba versus Pegasus, Kaiba wins and gets the cards that he was looking for. And Pegasus makes some comments that I can only describe as light flirting.
Now, Kaiba, let's not get nasty. Not just yet, anyhow.
But Kaiba isn't about that because he only has feelings for the Pharaoh. Yugi and Taya decide to hide out at the museum where they find out about Anubis and the Pyramid of Light. Suddenly the lights go out and Yugi has a vision of Anubis holding on to Kaiba. Yugi wakes up and runs outside to find Kaiba, but luckily Mokuba's already outside with a limo. Mokuba explains that Kaiba has been looking for him and that he's been acting very strange lately. Kaiba assessing over beating Yugi? He would never, that is just so unlike him. Yugi changes into the Pharaoh and they meet up on top of Kaiba Tower where Kaiba has put together the most hype light show you've ever seen because he's just extra like that. Imagine if that happened in real life sports where one of the players grew 4 inches out of nowhere. I think that would raise some eyebrows. The Pharaoh tries to explain that their lives and possibly the world might be in danger, but Kaiba does not care. All he cares about is defeating the Pharaoh. They start the duel and Kaiba plays a card that forces the Pharaoh to play all 3 Egyptian god cards at once. Then Kaiba activates a trap card called Pyramid of Light that destroys all 3 Egyptian god cards. If you want to pick up some powerful trading cards, check out today's sponsor, Hollow Games. Links down in the description. Now back to the video. The duel goes about how it normally goes with a good back and forth between Kaiba and the Pharaoh. That is until Yugi gets sucked into the Millennium Puzzle, which looks like one of those stair paintings. The duel goes on, but Joey and the other one also get sucked into the Millennium Puzzle, and they decide to search for the Pharaoh's soul, hoping that he knows the way out. The Pharaoh decides to sacrifice both Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl in order to summon the Sorcerer of Dark Magic, which is probably the best looking Dark Magician variant in my opinion. The Sorcerer of Dark Magic was my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card as a kid. In fact, I liked it so much I had my dad laminate it because I didn't know what card sleeves were back then. In response, Kaiba sacrifices his Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in order to summon Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, which is pretty cool, but I wish it had arms. Meanwhile, Taya and Yugi's grandfather are watching the Pyramid of Light from outside, realizing that it's irradiating some type of energy. And then we get this gem of a line.
This thing's putting out energy waves that are making my pacemaker go haywire.
Yugi and his friends find Anubis's mummified body within the Millennium Puzzle, and Anubis starts monologuing. Anubis's grand plan is to take the life force from the Pharaoh and Kaiba to bring himself back to life and take over the world. Why is taking over the world the default answer? Why is world domination always the goal? Why can't you come back to life just to hang out or something? Back to the duel, and Kaiba is absolutely destroying the Pharaoh at the moment. But luckily the Pharaoh draws Pot of Greed, and what does Pot of Greed do again?
I activate Pot of Greed, which lets me draw 2 cards.
Oh, thank God they explained it, because I would have been so confused. Kaiba tries to destroy the Pyramid of Light in order for him to use the Pharaoh's own god cards against him. Anubis does not like this plan, so he decides to take matters into his own hands and toss Kaiba aside. Back to Yugi. Yugi somehow figures out that the symbol on the wall is Anubis's weak point and decides to throw a knife at it. I don't know how he figures this out, but nevertheless it somehow works. The Pharaoh realizes that there's something wrong with Anubis and activates a card that allows him to use a card from his opponent's graveyard. And the card he chooses is Monster Reborn, bringing back the Blue Eye Shining Dragon to his side of the field. The Pharaoh activates the Blue Eye Shining Dragon's special ability and destroys the Pyramid of Light, bringing back all 3 Egyptian god cards. The Pharaoh uses their combined strength and defeats Anubis. Awesome, the day is saved and now we can go home now. Because they needed this to run at least an hour and a half, Anubis comes back as a giant wolf monster. Joey tries to step in but does absolutely nothing. Good job, Joey. You have contributed nothing to this plot. Kaiba wakes up and suggests that what if you did the exact same thing, but again? Yugi and the Pharaoh summon the Blue Eye Shining Dragon again, and they defeat Anubis. What was the point of that? Like, just to do it a second time, I guess? But nevertheless, the Blue Eye Shining Dragon gives one last weird screech, and the day is saved. Gosh, this movie dragged towards the end. Kaiba gets up and talks some smack, and Yugi says it's nice to have the old Kaiba back. Yugi, what are you even talking about? He's been like this the entire movie. His personality has literally not changed at all. And then Yugi ends the movie with a monologue about friendship or whatever, which is weird because Yugi, you and the Pharaoh were the only ones that did anything. Your friends were completely useless the entire movie. Whatever, I'm just glad that this movie's over because this movie actually has really good setup, but halfway through the movie, it feels like the writers ran out of ideas. Which is weird because we really don't even get into Anubis's backstory other than he fought the Pharaoh a long time ago. Which we don't even know why other than he wanted to rule the world. Like, we don't even get into his like motivations or like really anything. But at the end of the day, I don't recommend this movie, mainly because most of its ideas are better done in the rest of the series. If you like this video and you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe and check out my friends at Hollow Games. See you all next time, my fellow shinobi.